Hello, thank you for stopping on my video. My name is Becky and this is BecxReadz. I post videos every 5 days, and if I can manage, I will squeeze some in between, and today is another reading vlog for you. Really quickly, could you hit that subscribe button for me if you haven't already? It would really help my channel grow, and I would love for you to be here with me. So today is the start of another reading vlog, and because it is Valentine's month, I thought I would go through my TBR shelf and find books that either had hearts on them or heart in the title and read those. You'll probably be seeing this vlog much later than Valentine's Day, but as long as it's in February, that's what I'm going for. So the first book for this reading vlog is one that I've already started, and I've made a pretty significant dent in it already, and it is Into the Heartless Wood by Joanna Ruth Meyer. Not only does it have heart in the title, but she's got a heart right there as well. So I really didn't know what this book was when I went into it. I bought it purely off of a cover buy from Amazon. I really liked this cover and it gave me fairy tale vibes. I didn't know the genre. I didn't know anything about it. This is a young adult fantasy about a young woman who is a tree. She is a tree siren, to be exact. Her mother is the witch of these heartless woods, and her daughters are sirens. They are trees that will sing to compel humans to give up their soul, and then they take that soul and they feed it into like the mother tree in this forest to like replenish it. Because there is this king in this kingdom who is trying everything he can to destroy these woods. He has tried burning them down, he has tried chopping them down, and so everybody knows to stay away from these woods because they will die. And our main character, Owen, he lives on the fringes of these woods with his father and his little sister. His mother went into the woods one day and she was captured by these tree sirens. And ever since, his father has been living on the outside. He is an astronomer, and he tells his children not to venture into the woods, but he doesn't want to stray from the woods because he still has hope that maybe his wife will one day come back. Owen is growing up outside these woods. He's taking care of his little sister. He is helping his father map the stars. He wants to be an astronomer someday. And one day he is venturing on this train through the woods to get to the capital to give them these new star charts when their train is overtaken, and one of these tree spirits ends up killing everybody on this train except for Owen. His little sister ends up running into the woods to try and find him for some reason, so he has to venture back into this woods to try and find his little sister, who is about to have her soul ripped out from one of these tree spirits, when the spirit who saved him saves his little sister as well. And she is very compelled by him. She's very fascinated by him. So they start meeting up and he starts introducing her to things that make people human. Music, stories, art, things like that. And through that, they become very close. But his father is forbidding him to enter this forest once he finds out again, because he does not want his son to end up in the same fate as his mother. So it's a very forbidden romance between these two. So at this point, I am right there. I don't have very much left to get through at all. And I gotta say, this is a really intriguing story. I am really enjoying it. I am listening to it on audio and I really like the narration. I love that even though it's dual perspective, it is mainly from Owen's point of view. And I tend to like books that are from the male perspective more. Owen is a very unique YA character. He's not one of those rough and tumble male characters. He's very smart, he's very introspective, and he's a very sweet character, and you see that with the way he loves his little sister and the way that he wants to help his father. He's a very intellectual sort. I really like this forest setting so far. It's almost a sentient type forest, because even though these tree sirens look kind of humanish, they're not. They're much more tree looking. So that's just really fascinating. I don't know yet if this is like a retelling of a folklore or anything like that. It gives off those vibes though. I am sorry that I've gotten so far into this before I've given you an update, but I started it and I just got sucked into the story. So I will give you my final thoughts on it once I have finished. I finished Into the Heartless Wood and I really enjoyed this story. I ended up giving it 5 stars. I did look around to see if it was inspired by any fairy tales, and the only thing that I could find was that it was inspired loosely by Beauty and the Beast. The author wanted like a gender bent retelling where the boy fell in love with a girl beast, kind of, and so that's where most of the inspiration came from. Other than that, the only other things I found to tie it to other like folklores or mythologies or anything like that was the girl, the tree siren, the boy gives her the name Saren, which is a Welsh name for star. And there are dryads mentioned in here, which are Greek, like wood nymphs. So some things taken from different avenues, but that was the most I could find. The ending kept my attention. I actually sat down and just had to listen to the ending of this, where this king is going for his final battle against the witch of the woods to really take down this forest. And that was very engaging for me to listen to. The ending almost caught me by surprise. Like, I was expecting it to end a certain way, and it did, but for a while there, I was afraid it wasn't going to end how I was expecting it to end. So if you're looking for a YA fantasy romance that isn't too heavy on the romance does play a big part in this story, but it doesn't have a lot of like kissing sexual scenes in it or anything like that. It's a very sweet, very pure romance. So if that's something that interests you and you're looking for something a little bit different and unique with a creepy sentient forest, definitely check this one out. For the second book in this reading vlog, I will be reading Between the Blade and the Heart by Amanda Hocking. I think, if I recall, I've only read one Amanda Hocking book in my life, and it was years ago, like 10 plus years ago, and it wasn't very good. So I don't know what possessed me to pick this up at my local used bookstore. I'm pretty sure it was the purple cover and the fact that it said Valkyrie on it. I do tend to like books about Valkyries. So I'm going to dive into this one and give it a try and see what it's about. Hopefully I enjoy it. I literally know nothing about this book other than there's a Valkyrie. So we shall see how this one goes. I am halfway through Between the Blade and the Heart by Amanda Hocking. This is a YA fantasy about a young woman named Malin. She is a Valkyrie. Her mother was a Valkyrie, so is she. And in this world, humans and immortals live together, and Valkyries are the people who are sent to kill immortals because since immortals can't die, the population is becoming overpopulated, and so Valkyries are sent to kill the immortals. Malin has just run into this young man who is accusing her mother of not doing her job as a Valkyrie, and in doing so, that led to the death of his mother. So Malin is starting to question her mother, who has always been very rigid and very strict about the rules of a Valkyrie. And it turns out that Malin's mother did in fact not follow through with a killing that she was supposed to commit. And that is leading them to discover that maybe there are some secrets in this world that people aren't telling them, that aren't quite on the up and up. So it's turned into much more of a mystery fantasy, which I wasn't expecting. The story overall is just it's nothing fantastic, but I am interested to see where it goes. So I think I probably will update you again on this book once I have finished, because there's not really much to say. The characters are fine, the story is fine, I'm not really loving anything, I'm not really hating anything. It's just meh. So I finished reading Between the Blade and the Heart, and I think on my last update I had told you that Malin, our main character, who is a Valkyrie, she met this young man whose mother was killed because Malin's mother didn't do her job, and so they were hunting down the man who killed his mother. So in the latter half of this book, they find this man, he is still alive, and it leads them to finding out that there are some secrets that the higher ups in this world are keeping. They end up tracking him down, and they end up discovering that he is working for these people who are trying to get into the underworld to sort of release creatures and take over Earth. I ended up giving this 3 stars. It was just okay. There's nothing spectacular about this story. It's not a standout story. I was really bored with a lot of it. It's supposed to be new adult, I believe, because our main character Malin, she is in college, and there are some suggested sexual scenes in this, although this is closed door so you don't get any, but it's implied. but it read more young adult. I didn't love the college setting because I didn't think it needed to be in there. Because in the beginning of the story, her professors are like, Malin, you need to come to class because if you don't graduate, then you can't become a proclaimed Valkyrie. But in this book, she only goes to class like twice. So what was the point of that? I didn't connect to any of these characters. I really didn't care about their story, quite honestly. I did like all the different like creatures that were involved in this story. It wasn't just focused on Norse mythology with the Valkyries. There were other creatures from differing mythologies included in it. I liked that there was bisexual rep in this story. I liked the mother-daughter relationship and how that played out, but it wasn't anything memorable. I got to the end and I was like, okay, well, I'm done. Moving on to the last and final book in this heart vlog, I will be reading Iron-Hearted Violet by Kelly Burnhill. I know this is a middle grade fantasy about a girl who maybe rides dragons based on the cover. I don't know a whole lot about it, to be quite honest. The cover is what caught my attention because, as we've discovered, Becky is a cover whore. But it does have really cute illustrations. The font is really big for my blind self. So I'm hoping that I can get through this rather quickly, and I will give you updates as I read it. I thought I would share a quick update on my progress of Iron-Hearted Violet. I am now right there. I'm about halfway through. I'm on page 200 right now. So, like I mentioned, I had no idea what this book was when I started it. All I knew was it was a middle grade about a girl who supposedly rode dragons based on the cover. So we're following this princess named Violet, and she's described as being a very ugly princess. That is how she is described in the book. But based on the illustrations, I mean, she's not that ugly, let's be real. But she is the sole daughter to this king and this queen. Her mother gets pregnant multiple times, but every time the baby either is miscarried or stillborn. So Violet is their only child, and she's a very lonely child until she meets this boy named Demetrius, who is the stable master's son, and so he is pretty much her only friend. And together they get into antics, and one day they find this like secret passageway in the library that leads them to this secret chamber, and they discover this really weird book that has like different writing on it that's constantly changing. And it talks about like gods and dragons and things like that. So they're very intrigued by this. Then one day her father leaves the castle because he got word that there was a dragon in his territory, and it's like the last dragon in this place. So he goes to hunt him down. He takes Demetrius with him, and while Demetrius is gone, Violet, she starts going back to the secret room and like looking at the things that are in it, and she discovers the name of one of these gods, which is Nibus, I think it is. Anyway, he's a 13th god. He's a lost god. Nobody talks about him. And he keeps like whispering things in her head. And then there's this mirror in the palace that it reflects back what she sees, but the movements don't match up or something. And like you can tell that it's got some like sinister vibes to it. I'm not entirely sure where this story is going at 200 pages. I did read the back, finally, and supposedly it's something about the power of storytelling, like the stories that Violet and Demetrius tell will have the ability to either doom or save this kingdom. But so far, 50% in, that really hasn't been a plot point. Like, they tell stories, but I haven't seen where like anything that they tell like has any impact other than just entertainment. So I'm not really sure where this story is going. So far, I'm not loving it. I don't like the writing style of this book. It's told from a narrator's perspective, which I'm really dumb when it comes to like first, second, third person. I know it's not first person. I'm pretty sure it's third person, but I'm so dumb when it comes to that. But anyway, there's a narrator who is telling me the story, and I hate that because I prefer reading stories where it's like first person, where it's me. I become the character. Whereas this, I'm just listening to a story. And it's almost like it's got some like fourth wall breaking, because while the narrator is telling me the story, sometimes he'll pop in and be like, you know, and it's like, It is going by really quickly though, because like I mentioned prior, the words are really big and several of the pages just have like full page illustrations on it. So that is why I have managed to get through half of it so quickly. It's not because I'm enjoying it, that's for sure. I don't know. It's not grabbing my attention, quite honestly, but I wanted to give you an update. Okay, well, sadly, I am DNFing this book. I made it to 260 pages, and this book is 424 pages. So I read well over half of it. By 264 pages, like, what is on the back of here? The power of storytelling? That never showed up in 264 pages, so I don't know how long am I going to have to read this damn thing before the synopsis kicks in? I also just didn't care about the characters. I didn't find them lovable. I didn't feel a connection to them at all. I really hated how this princess was continuously referred to as the ugly princess and that real princesses are pretty. I'm sure there's some sort of like lesson to be taught in there for middle graders to read, but she's not ugly. The illustrations do not match up to what her description is. It lacked action for me. It gave nothing to me. So I decided, instead of forcing myself to continue to read it just for the sake of saying I finished it, I couldn't. There are other books that I would like to get read this month, so I'm done with this. But this got me thinking about something I hear a lot of people say and mention in reviews when they read books with characters who are much younger than them. And that is, they say that they can't rate it because they weren't the target demographic for this book, and you know, if they were this age, they would probably enjoy it. And for me, that just doesn't hold true, because I love middle grade books. I have loved several middle grade books, and I've given them 5 stars. So if I can give some middle grade books 5 stars and rate really highly, despite me not being the target demographic, then I should be able to say, you know what, this book sucks. I think it does an injustice to really good books that are also in that same age range. It says a lot to the author and the writing style and the stories they build that I can love one and absolutely hate another. So I think it's okay for readers who read books featuring younger characters to just be able to say, I didn't like this book. The writing sucked, the story wasn't engaging, the characters didn't connect with me in any sort of way, and that's okay. That just came to mind when I was reading this, because I am not a 12-year-old girl. But that shouldn't matter, because if a story is written really well, if I can engage with the characters, if I can feel connected to the story and get sucked into the story and love my time reading it, that's all that should matter. And this wasn't it. This didn't do it for me. That is the end of this reading vlog, unfortunately. Because I don't have another book that has heart in the title. This is the second book I've DNF'd for this reading vlog. The other one I didn't even mention because I DNF'd it way at the beginning. But yeah, that is officially my second DNF for this vlog, so it didn't go well. But at least I enjoyed one of the books that I read for this series. That was great. I really loved that first book that I read, Into the Heartless Woods. Highly recommend that one. So if you are still here, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Let me know down in the comments, have you read any of these books? What are your thoughts on rating books lowly that are in your age demographic? Let me know. And if you don't want to comment any of those things, could you leave me the tree emoji, because Into the Heartless Woods was the best book I read for this vlog, and our main character is a tree siren. Until my next video, thank you so much for watching, and read something that touches your heart. Bye.